Hi, this is Jonason Pauley with the live-action version of Toy Story. You're listening to the Pixar Post podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Pixar Post podcast. I'm TJ.
And Julie.
And we are very excited that, again, this is our second episode, and we heard some great feedback from our first episode from all of our listeners and from our readers. We are very grateful for that as well.
Yes, thank you.
And, we're also happy to announce that you can now fully subscribe to us in the iTunes Store. Just go to the iTunes Store, just search for Pixar Post. You can search for Pixar Post Podcast, or you can search for just Pixar, and you'll find us in the podcast section. So we're very happy about that. One of the other things we wanted to follow up with was that last week we mentioned that our logo, we were going to be tweaking it a little bit, and that is underway.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, it's still within the same arena of what we have. It's just kind of, I guess, just popped a little bit, brought it up a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more fun and friendly. And then we have a secondary version that is being worked on for the podcast as well, which is a fun little variance on it.
Yes, that's the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah. So the other thing we wanted to announce as well is that we did open a voicemail tip line for anybody that has any extra tips that they may not want to email to us specifically. Just thought it would be another good way that we could communicate with the readers and listeners. So that telephone number, and it's always on our website as well, so you don't need to remember it right here, is 415-799-POST. So that's 415-799-POST, or the last four digits are 7678. We're also happy to announce that we're on Vine now, which Vine is Twitter's answer to video sharing. It's an owned company by Twitter where you can share up to 6 seconds of video. So we're planning on doing some really fun stuff there, which we'll dig into a little bit more in the podcast. So let's get right down into the meat of it. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. This week, Julie did 2 director's commentaries, one for A Bug's Life and one for the short film Day and Night. We're also going to be talking about our interview that we had with Jonason Pauley of the Real Life Toy Story Project. We're going to be talking about some additional information with release dates, packaging, and potential leaks of characters for Disney Infinity. Talking about some great news on The Blue Umbrella, the official world premiere date and time, the Pixarian feedback, as well as a strong connection and a nod to another animated film, which we think we might have found a really cool connection to.
Yes, that I don't think anyone has ever talked about yet.
Yeah, not yet. And we could be way off, but we're at least going to explore it.
We're going to explore it, yes.
So then there's we're going to talk about the licensing deal that was announced for Monsters University toys, what Mark Anrews is going to be doing back in Scotland again after his whole Brave adventure there. And, let's kick right off into things now and talk about some big Pixar Canada news. So Pixar Canada last week has joined Twitter, and their hashtag or their follow symbol, so that way you can follow them as well, is at Pixar Canada, simply enough. But if you had seen in a video that we had done a couple weeks ago, and we talked about it on our first episode of the podcast, we made a custom Partysaurus Rex, and we videoed that process. In the video, some of our readers were even asking us, hey, why are you guys making more Partysaurus Rexes? Well, the surprise was one of them went to Pixar Canada, because, of course, that's where Partysaurus Rex was essentially created out of.
Correct.
Story development was done in Emeryville, and the technical side of things was done in Canada. Well, they received it actually as of today, which when you're listening to this, when we're recording it, is Monday, January 28th, 2013. And we've already seen pictures from Amir Nasrabadi and some of the other crew members at Pixar Canada who've told us they absolutely love them, and that be sure to watch our feed, our Twitter feed, which is at the Pixar Post, as well as Pixar Canada, because we were told there's going to be more and more pictures over the next few days and weeks.
It's very exciting.
So what they're doing is they're taking pictures of Rex, kind of how we did, around the studio.
Yeah, kind of like probably kind of similar to our hashtag follow Rex.
Right. Yep, so we're really looking forward to that. So obviously we don't have too much to report on that since they just received it today, but definitely keep an eye out.
Yes, if you're not following Pixar Canada, you need to be following Pixar Canada.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of fun photos, especially related to Rex, and we're excited about that. As well as for other Pixar Canada news, of course.
I mean, their next shorts, everything.
Yeah, and they did just start another Twitter
for Pixar Canada jobs.
Right, so people could locate jobs that are going to be in the Vancouver branch as well. So definitely follow that as well. So another story that Julie found this week was that Mark Andrews, what's he going to be doing in Scotland again? He's going to be mentoring students at the Glasgow School of Art in Scotland from April 8th through the 19th.
Yeah, it's really exciting for these young up and coming, artists there to, be mentored and, just learn from, this amazing director.
Right. And if you've seen any of his other behind the scenes footage or any other clips that he's done online where he's spoken at schools, obviously he's very engaging.
Very engaging, yes.
And, the detail...
Well, he's a great storyteller, and I think that comes across, when he's teaching. He's not just teaching, he's telling stories with it, which I don't know about anyone else, but I learn from stories.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's obviously what made him a good director. And if you see any of those clips where he's talking about how to choreograph the fight scenes, he's really describing to the animator that he's working with how that scene would actually play out in real life, and how they're going to need to animate that to make it accurate.
Right. So that's, very exciting for those students.
Yeah. So as we hear more, we'll certainly report more. But as of right now, all that's happened is the announcement has been made that he will be out there mentoring again at the Glasgow School of Art in Scotland from April 8th through the 19th. So it's a
long 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's going to be great, though. The next thing we're going to talk about is a story that was actually originally discussed in November, but didn't get a lot of attention until recently because of all the extra Monsters University news. It's that Spin Master Toys signed the master license deal for Monsters University's toys that are going to be coming out for the film. And for anybody that Spin Master Toys, they're mostly known for Air Hogs, which are remote control vehicles. They did some of the remote control cars for Cars 2. And they also do Bakugan and a couple other toys, lots of other toys. So we're interested to see where this is going to take it. But the company did note that this is one of their biggest deals in the company's 18-year history. And if you think about the scale of what they did for Cars 2, for Air Hogs in general, the other areas that touches, as well as Bakugan and some of the other big toy lines that they represent, for them to say this is one of their biggest deals, we're expecting a pretty big launch of Monsters University toys, and they've obviously already been pushing some of the marketing that's been out there through the website, through the monstersuniversity.com and things like that.
Yeah, so it's really exciting for them.
Last week we also talked about the Disney Infinity game that was announced, and this week we have a couple new updates. One of them is that there are high-resolution packaging photos that are surfacing as of this point with they're big character images. So, for instance, on the Mr. Incredible package, there's a large Mr. Incredible on the backer board with a very clean, very clear blister pack on the front of it. It's just one more thing that's getting us excited about the game. It's seeing the actual packaging that the characters are coming in and how clean they're going to make this look.
Oh, I'm really excited about this game, and I'm not a video gamer by any means, but I can't wait.
Yeah, and it's funny, there's been a lot of talk on Twitter about people that say that. If you look at the hashtag Disney Infinity, there's a lot of people that say, I'm not a gamer at all, but this is kind of pulling me in.
Yeah, this has me excited.
Yeah.
I want to know what this is about.
Right, and it's exciting because of the fact that I think people are connecting with it not only because it's so interactive, but because of the characters that they can connect with.
Well, they're characters that we feel like we know.
Right. And speaking of the characters, Videogamer.com had an interview this week with Disney Infinity executive producer John Vignocchi, who said that they are planning an annual release schedule for Disney Infinity. So they're planning on bringing out a bunch of characters, let those ride out for about a season, and then the next season bring out a whole new group of characters. There's still going to be a lot of characters at launch, and then obviously that if they're going to be doing this on an annual basis, it's going to be a large grouping of characters at once. But it was also noted in that interview that since the media will still be on the disc, since the game will still come on a disc each year, that hackers could potentially read the code on the disc and reveal what characters are going to be expected for the upcoming year. And John noted that that's certainly a possibility, but something that he's hoping won't be, widely spread, throughout the news. But that's something that could be interesting to see, where they're going to go with that, and if there's some type of protection or still characters that they might still pull out of their hats and release secretly anyway.
Right. Well, with the upcoming releases of other Pixar films, I mean, this is just an ongoing, they're going to have characters.
Yeah, so even if they do reveal some now, there still will be certainly new ones that come in the future for it as well. So that's good to note. Now, we also don't have 100% confirmation on this, but a Twitter user was noting specifically that Stitch Kingdom said that the official release date for the game will be June 18th, 2013. Now, in the official press release information, they had just stated that it was June. But now this particular user is saying that Stitch Kingdom is reporting. We did try to find it. We weren't able to confirm it. So as of right now, don't take that as, an ultimate...
Set in stone.
A set in stone date. But June 18th is kind of floating out there. And then around that same time, there's a Game Weston Supermare, which is a UK-based company that said the release date was June 28th. So it could be that they're off cycle. It could be that it's really June 18th. Could be that it's June 28th. We don't know. But the conversation is starting out there, and people are starting to, keep that news going.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what that date comes to be.
Yeah, is it going to be mid? Is it going to be the end? We just are so excited. We just want to know.
Right. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit, though, getting off of gaming and talking a little bit about the upcoming short film, The Blue Umbrella, which, again, is they're going to be shown ahead of Monsters University in theaters in June. Well, for that short, the crew wrap party was on January 23rd, and all of the tweets from the different Pixar employees, or Pixarians as they're called, said that their minds were blown in one way or another. And to give a couple examples... some of them are just saying, it is amazing, saw it today, can't believe the look of this, I finally saw The Blue Umbrella today, holy cow, it's going to be hard explaining to my mom that this is 100% CGI. It
basically, we know from the stills that we've seen that this is so photorealistic.
And from the short clip that was online.
Exactly. It looks so true, like it looks real life, so I'm really excited about this short.
Yeah, absolutely. And director Sascha Unseld also posted on Twitter this week the official world premiere date of The Blue Umbrella. Now, previously, we had noted that it was going to premiere at the Berlin Film Festival, and we also noted that Sascha and Mark Greenberg, the producer, would be doing a question-and-answer session on the 12th. But it was never officially announced until today that when Sascha said that it would be on the 12th at 11 a.m. Central European Time. Again, that's based on the fact that it's going to be in Berlin. Among that, he also noted there's going to be 4 other showtimes and days during the film festival, because again, the film festival runs from the February 7th to the 17th. But he mentioned a total of 5 times that the Blue Umbrella would show at the festival. Sascha also tweeted today that he would be at a speaking event at the Museum of Arts and Crafts in Hamburg, and this will be a Pixar exhibit that's held on February 14th, so Valentine's Day. And when Julie saw Sashka's tweet, she sent out a modified tweet today that said...
Well, I came up with the same because it's happening on Valentine's Day, and there are 2 umbrellas. So I tweeted out, love is in the air for this cute umbrella pair.
Yeah, that's...
How cute is that?
That's too good. It's too good. I know. So in the at the Museum of Arts and Crafts, Sashka will be talking about the development process within Pixar, as well as go through the kind of behind-the-scenes making of steps from his initial first shot all the way through the completion of it.
It should be really exciting, if you're in the audience, to see all the making of.
So the other thing we wanted to talk about was what we think is a big connection from the Blue Umbrella to another animator and another specifically project that this animator has done. So specifically, John Lasseter is big on Hayao Miyazaki. And we think, we were watching the clips, nothing ever clicked with us specifically, but all of a sudden it just clicked with us, hey, this has an element of...
My Neighbor Totoro.
Right. So we were looking at it, and... Okay, so in Totoro, 2 girls move to the countryside with their father and eventually stumble across a big creature, Totoro. In one scene, in the rain, the girls have a red umbrella, and they give Totoro
a blue umbrella.
Right. So we're wondering if the fact that there's this blue umbrella and the red umbrella, and the fact that it's a Miyazaki film, who so many Pixarians from Enrico Casarosa to John Lasseter to the list just goes on and on. Absolutely adore him.
Yeah, and I think they take, inspiration from his films. I mean, they're beautiful cinematic stories, that he tells. And I just feel like this might be some of that inspiration.
Yeah. Well, we came across it, and we're going to try to figure out if we can, get any information, if this is a true nod at some level to Miyazaki. But at this point...
Or it could be a coincidence.
Yeah, and in fact, we came across it, and we started thinking about it actually as of today. And we just went, holy cow, is this what it is? So we just want to know. I mean, obviously, it's nothing earth-shattering, but with all of the different connections that are out there to Miyazaki in the Pixar world, I think it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And if it's a coincidence, it's a cool coincidence.
It's a neat thing.
Yeah.
We think it's neat.
Yeah, yeah. This week, we also were lucky enough to have an interview with half of the real-life Toy Story project duo, Jonason Pauley. And we were definitely struck with his calm and casual demeanor during the interview. He was just fun to talk to.
Right.
And, the real-life Toy Story project, for people that may not know, just a high-level overview, it's the complete recreation of Toy Story 1, the first film, with live action, with toys with live
people.
actors, green screens, stop motion animation. It's quite the project, and we've been following them for about a year on YouTube and Twitter and following along with their progress, but it was officially released about 2 weeks ago. The video at this point has 8.4 million views, or just a little over, and they've been featured everywhere from the homepage of YouTube to Yahoo, Huffington Post, an ABC News article. The list goes on and on. So on last Monday, we talked with Jonason for about 30 minutes, ended up recording about 15 minutes of the talk, so you can catch that full interview on our website. But there were two sections during the interview that really caught our attention, and the first one was talking about how they took the project and essentially started to break it down and get to starting. Because us, if we thought about doing it, it would just seem so overwhelming. Like,
oh, definitely.
How do you dig apart a project like this?
It's a big project.
Yeah. So let's take a listen to that clip where we asked him that question. So in fact, in kind of going along those same lines as well, if you think about undertaking a project of the size, how did you originally jump in and tackle it to get the accuracy of the shots and angles? What I mean by that is, did you do storyboards or, draw out some shots? How did you break it up into chunks? How did you do that?
Well, we started by the very first thing that we did is after we talked about it and decided we wanted to do it, I kind of wrote out like, okay, well, here's all the different, scenes, and here's all the different locations that they take place in. And then Jesse went and watched the entire movie and paused it at every shot and wrote down every single thing that you see. He had this huge list of every prop and every character and what they're wearing and everything else.
Yeah, can you believe that he literally wrote down every single thing in the movie?
That is dedication right there.
Yeah, and and it does show. I mean, during the interview or on the interview post on our website, I took screenshots from their movie as well as the original Toy Story and held them next to each other and compared them, or put them next to each other on our website and compared them.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, background,
how detailed.
The title of books in the background are accurate. Characters in the background are accurate. Posters. It is amazing. Mm-hmm. So
even the Sid, the real life Sid. I mean,
You're right. The kid that plays Sid looks pretty darn accurate.
Shockingly similar to the real Sid.
Right. And the second thing from the interview that really caught my attention, and in fact, Julie and I even tweeted them ahead of our interview just to say that we really love the scene where Buzz and Woody are fighting at the gas station, and that's right where
they get left behind.
Right, where Andy's car drives off right before they get into the Pizza Planet delivery truck and try to meet back up with Andy at Pizza Planet. Mm-hmm. So the part that blew our mind, though, was the semi-truck. Yeah,
the semi-truck at the gas station that basically inches its way towards Woody's head.
Right, and we're sitting there going, first off,
How did they talk someone into doing this?
How did they get a semi-truck to work with them, and how did Woody not essentially get crushed? So let's listen to a clip of that.
Yeah, that was so much fun. It was one of the first things that we did outside of Andy's room. So it was fun for that reason, because we were outside.
Yeah.
And we were filming just as much as we could, like with just the toys and a gas station that looked nice. And then we're like, okay, well, we'll just hang out here until a truck comes. And one came to the gas station across the street. So we drove over there, talked to the guy, and he was, he's like, oh, yeah, okay, that sounds like fun. And so before he started pumping the gas, he almost run over Woody's head for us. There was one of those moments where it's like, I was thinking to myself, how in the world are we going to do this shot without, worrying about crushing Woody and the camera? And then Jesse says, we'll do it backwards. I'm like, oh, yes, that's awesome. So we started next to his head and drove backwards.
Yeah, and isn't that just absolutely crazy that they started at his head and drove backwards, but then reversed the video?
It's so simple that I don't know if I would have thought about that, but now it's like, that's genius.
Right, and you got to give it to Jesse for that as well, because
definitely
he coming up with that idea, just saying, off the cuff, hey, we'll just do it in reverse. That's pretty darn cool.
Right.
So, yeah, but be sure to check out the rest of that interview. It was really interesting. Again, 15 minutes with Jonason, and thanks to him again for taking the time for doing that interview.
Definitely.
So, following up, also this week, Julie did the director's commentary review for A Bug's Life. Eventually our goal is to have as many of the Pixar films and shorts that at least they have director's commentaries available for. So we're starting to go through that process now. But the next one there that she did was the A Bug's Life. And with all of the director's commentary tracks, there are so many behind-the-scenes fun facts and complete details and info in there, from where they hide their kids' names to technical challenges that they face. And one of those that they faced right off the bat, although they saved the scene for later in the movie to animate, was the opening scene.
Yes, the opening scene, which you'll hear in this next clip, they said was the hardest scene to do, and it floored me. It captivated me, and it was a great way to start this director's cut. Like I said, it is from the opening scene.
Right, and the opening scene, again, is where it pans out.
Yeah, it pans out from basically the human world.
Or pans in.
Yeah, pans in, yes. Pans in from the human world all the way down to the ants' world.
Right, so it's a slow, one long shot that goes all the way from where we would be perceiving things all the way angling down into the grass blades and everything like that. So let's take a listen to that clip.
The first shot of A Bug's Life was very important to us because we wanted to take the audience from a world in which they knew that, of a human world, and take you down to that same world from a bug's point of view. And we wanted to do it in one single shot. Now, you have to understand that in computer animation, going from a certain level of complexity, that of the human world, all the way down to the bug's world, was, talk about complexity. This was the most difficult shot of the film to do.
I think we left this shot almost to the very end because we knew it would take almost the entire production to do it.
Right. When we started the movie, we really did not know how to do this shot. Because if you look at the complexity as you get into the grass blades and down into the clovers, it is pretty remarkable to think about how far away you start and how close you actually get.
In real life, the world actually gets more complex when you get that close up. And that kind of scared us, but it was exciting.
Yeah, and that was a clip that you heard there with John Lasseter, Lee Unkrich, and Andrew Stanton talking. And obviously there's still a little bit of that jokingness in their tone, but you can tell that it was serious. That was a technical challenge of technical challenges.
Yes, and I love hearing about these technical challenges. And another one of the technical challenges that, or I guess animation marvels that they had to create, was the crowd scene of the ants. Now, when you see these scenes, you don't really pay too much attention to the ants in the background. You're only paying attention to the main characters, the circus bugs. But when you really look at the background crowd ants, it's amazing that they all move independently. They all seem to have personalities in a life of their own. They don't look like they're mirrored after each other. So the crowd scene of animators that did this, did a phenomenal job. And it was really interesting to hear exactly what they did to create this, as well as an interesting fun fact that one girl ant kept getting cut from scenes. So that was really funny to hear.
We had a team of brilliant people developing the crowd animation. Now, in the research that we did on this film, we realized this is a movie about an ant colony, and you can't very well do an ant colony and just animate like 10 or so ants. And so we knew we had to come up with a way to animate thousands of ants. But we wanted these ants to feel like they were alive, that they were thinking, that they were looking, that they weren't just repeating. It's very easy in computer animation to take a bit of animation and repeat it again and again and again and again.
Sort of the copy and paste.
Yeah, cut and paste kind of thing. But to give each one an individual sense of personality and life, that was the challenge. And they really came up with a brilliant way that it all starts with the animator coming up with a series of bits of animation for a particular scene. And they would animate, anywhere from 4 to 7 or 8 bits of animation. And those were then replicated through all these ants. And they animated a generic ant, we called it. It was an ant of a particular size. The program not only took this animation and put it randomly through the crowd, but they also changed the size and scale of the ants. Shorter legs, fatter legs, taller legs, skinnier, bigger eyes, littler eyes, longer nose, so on. Also what they did is they were able to then separate the head movement so that they can have different groups of ants looking at different things all the time, very much like a crowd does. And so they would animate actually little spots that would move from character to place, and say, they would animate 5 of these spots, and they would divide up the crowd into 5 groups, all sprinkled in amongst each other, and they would follow those individual spots. They also added dialogue, where they would lean over and talk to each other. They would blink, extra animation on the antennas, and it gave it such a believability. It was incredible.
Well, it's funny, we wanted the sense of a large crowd, but we wanted it also to seem sort of finite. You didn't want to seem at the beginning of the movie like there's so many ants, it's so obvious they could take over the grasshoppers. You wanted to sort of, after a while, feel like you got to know this village.
Yeah, it's like all the inhabitants of a small village.
Right.
Yeah, it's a small
and so you
town.
wanted a sense that when you looked at Ant 5 and then you looked at Ant 50, they weren't doing the same thing. And that, over time, I think, even though you were never staring directly at the crowd, made you feel like they were real individuals in a town.
There was one female ant that constantly was, her animation was getting cut.
Oh,
and we
that's
always
right.
felt sorry for her. She was, for some reason, this particular female ant, the animation...
Holly was the...
Yeah, I think it was Holly. And it just, poor Holly, you got to cut her. She just looks pretty terrible in this scene, too.
Poor Holly. So she kept getting cut no matter what she did. But that's the kind of information that you're going to get on these director's commentary reviews. And kind of jumping from one director's commentary to another, Julie also covered Day and Night, which is Teddy Newton's amazing short that combined 2D hand drawings and the more familiar, at least for Pixar, computer animation.
And this is one of both of our favorite shorts.
Yeah, it's such a technical masterpiece. I remember when we first saw it in theaters ahead of Toy Story 3, I leaned over to you, and it just blew me away. I remember leaning over and saying...
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. That must have been so complex and hard to do. I was just completely mind blown. Luckily, Toy Story 3 just blew my mind equally as well. But and even though this is a short film, the director's commentary track still has a ton of information packed in there. And this is on the Pixar Short Films Collection Volume 2. And a couple of the things that really caught our attention from Teddy's comments here is the fact that the characters were originally based on old-style keyholes, and Teddy drew eyes on the keyhole that would allow them to see the world within themselves. He felt that was a bit limiting, so he gave them legs, and instead of them only being able to see the world within the keyhole, their feelings and emotions would be shown within their own bodies.
Yeah.
So, and the second thing that Teddy mentioned that I felt when we watched it, but I never fully understood, was that the music was in stereo or a more flat tone until the characters finally took an interest in each other. And check out this clip. I think you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about. You'll hear the transition here of when the characters still were kind of nitpicking each other.
Yeah, still kind of at odds. And then they came together and the sound is just amplified and you feel it.
Yeah, so you can really hear that connection there, where they start to realize the beauty of both of their worlds together.
Yeah, and that's basically where they show each other what's different between day and night.
Right. Yeah, just what a blast. Just a fun short.
It definitely is.
Yeah. Well, that about does it for this week's episode. In the upcoming week, we're continuing doing some more background information on the Blue Umbrella. We're going to have some more fun with Disney Infinity, I'm sure of it.
Oh, I'm sure.
And definitely...
hopefully some more Partysaurus Rex stuff from Pixar Canada. So don't forget, follow them at Pixar Canada.
All right, well, that wraps us up for episode 2 of the Pixar Post podcast. Thanks again for listening. This is TJ.
And Julie.
And be sure to follow us all the time at pixarpost.com for the latest Pixar news.